Okay, so since you seem to have a little bit of confusion about the supply, I'm going to make this video and hopefully you'll be able to follow along. So where I confused you was this morning I realized that nobody had spent the step of supply that was needed to supply these stacks with their attack supply. So I went into this stack which is Matrue. Hide it. You can see this is Matrue here. And in the stack about the middle is a step of supply. And what I did was I went in, highlighted it, right clicked, and then clicked delete. And it deleted the counter, and the counter shifted down. The stacks shifted down a little bit. That's probably why you didn't notice it. So this step, you have another step over here in Alexandria. And I discovered this morning that these, or I discovered this evening that these are actually supposed to be 2 steps of supply each. So they're supposed to be flipped over. And I discovered this because I was looking at the Italian forces, and over here they have 2 steps of supply when they're only supposed to have 1. There's one there, and then there's one over here at Tripoli. Which Tripoli is your ultimate goal. This is where you're trying to get to. So, since you have 8.5 REs of troops here that attacked at that hex, 1 step gets expended because 1 step will supply up to 10 REs of combat forces. So when you spend 1, you just go and you flip it over. You knock it down from 2 to 1. So when it comes time for you to move your forces here, you can take this, and you're supposed to be receiving, per the order of battle, and I don't know if this will show up or not, you're supposed to receive 2 more steps of supply this turn. So you can take this and you can move it along this rail line to the red railhead marker, and this costs nothing. It just moves along to the end. If you want to move it past that, you have been given 25 SMPs per turn, and of course this is going to stop responding. But you can see here just above the cursor, it says 25 SMPs per turn. So if you want to move a step of supply along a road, let's just go ahead and use the 2. You expend 1 SMP per step per hex. So in other words, whereas moving along a road will only cost you 1 SMP, because there's 2 steps here, this will cost you 2. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Now for simplicity's sake, we're going to move into a clear hex. A clear hex normally costs only 1 movement point to move into. But once the supply goes off-road because of the difficulty of the terrain, or the difficulty of it not being a road, because it's sand. This is the Sahara after all, or at least part of the Sahara. It costs 3 times as much to move into a clear hex or across a clear hex, or it costs 3 times the normal cost of the terrain per step per hex. So we've already moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we want to move here. This will cost 3 SMPs per step, or 6 to move there. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That would make it 16 SMPs to move there. You do not get 25 SMPs per step of supply. This is the total for the whole turn. So if you move that 16, this one could only move 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in theory, it could move here, which would be another 3. So that would be 8. That would take it to 24. And that's pretty much as far as you can go. Because if you were to move from a clear hex to a road hex, that still is going to cost you 3 times as much. Because at this point, you're not moving along the road. Now, this turn, you get also the 6th Australian Infantry Headquarters with which to create another infantry division. That headquarters unit and the supply can arrive here at either Port Said, Ismailia, or Suez, one of these 3 port cities along the Suez Canal here. Which I guess you could say that is the ultimate goal for the Axis, but in reality, the ultimate goal for the Axis is the Nile River Delta here. The Suez Canal is a secondary consideration within the context of this game. So once the units are landed, they are free to move however. This isn't going to be any help. There we go. For tactical movement along a railway, you have to spend 1 movement point to entrain, kind of like in Narvik. And even if you're on a rail line, it costs you 1 movement point to entrain. But then you can move a certain number of hexes per movement point. So you spend your 1, and that leaves them with 7 movement points. We're going to pretend that this is, well, we're not going to pretend anything. So with 8 movement points, it can either move 5 hexes per movement point or 6. I don't remember off the top of my head, but let's go with 5. So, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 6, 27, 28. So that is 28 hexes. So let's see, at 5 each, that's 5, 6. So that's 6 movement points that it's spent, 7 including the entrainment cost. Then it can move 1 more hex at normal movement. That's how tactical rail movement works. This one right here at El Alamein could spend 1 for entraining, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. And we already know that she captured this hex, so it could theoretically move 8. It can move from El Alamein all the way towards the Egyptian border. I think that is pretty much it. I'm going to fix all the supply stuff in the save file that this afternoon. And then I'll send it back to you, and I will include a link to this. Um, Hopefully it showed everything that I wanted it to show, like the order of battle. But if need be, I can make videos like this to help step through some of the processes that you're not quite understanding yet. But I really hate the sound of my voice when I hear it played back. It's so freaking nasally. But anyway, just keep your questions coming. Don't just assume anything. I'm more than happy to explain everything to you. And while most of this is very similar or the same as Narvik, there are some differences because we're dealing with larger scale units and we're in a different area of the world. This is all desert down here. And why they decided to fight over this wasteland, I have no idea. But it's neither here nor there. Anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you later.